The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Wednesday in the Riv.
It's hump day.
Humpy day. And we've got all
And
kinds.
it hasn't been quiet. Let me tell you, it hasn't been quiet.
No.
Nope. The Ordinance and Regulations Committee met this week. And all they wanted to do was limit the number of marijuana facilities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen.
And of course,
We should have like one on every corner, because every time I drive by that one in the south end, there's a line like a mile long. Because that's what we have here. We have a lot of people that like drugs. So they're all going to get their marijuana, and that's a growth industry. So, but the thing is, that's a finite number of people. Those people
Right.
are those people. And that's what they don't understand. These companies are like casinos. When they began to build casinos all over the place, the big casinos lost a lot of their revenue, because that revenue was a constant, because it's not like we're going to have, you open up 10 more facilities, we're going to get 10 times more people buying the product. Those people are the people who buy the product.
That's right.
And so therefore those places will not make as much money. So it will be capitalism at its best, the ones that don't do well. And it actually may help prices, which I don't care about, because I think they should not be selling it in the first place. But the reality is that's what they're going to do. But
well, what's interesting is
they love to regulate.
Yeah, what's interesting, though, is they think that by opening 8, 10, or 11 of these pot shops, they're going to make a lot more money. The only thing they're going to definitely get is $50,000 more.
That's exactly what they're going to get. They're looking at the fees.
Right.
And because the money for the actual business, it's not, as I said, you have so many consumers.
Exactly.
A finite number of consumers.
All that's going to happen is that big line down in the south end is going to disappear, because it's going to be spread out over 8, 10, or 11 facilities.
Exactly. It'll be dispersed throughout the city.
So
and those facilities are not going to make money, and ultimately you're not going to get renewals of these licenses, because they're not going to make the money.
Right.
It's just a fact. That's the market. Laissez-faire. Let it be.
And when you consider the fact that they dish out $5 to $6 million in cash because no bank will finance them.
Yeah, that's a big investment.
That's a big investment.
That's a big investment. You're right. I mean, especially, but it's a good investment in this community, because look, we've got the consumers here.
Yes, we do. That's for sure. But it was interesting because Attorney Will Flanagan, former mayor, went there saying that regulation at this level is unatceptable. You have to let the market,
since he's got an interest in it.
Since he has a vested interest.
Yeah,
exactly.
and I hope somebody also told him that the Atlantic, they didn't swim across the Atlantic Ocean, those people who swam and drowned in the Rio Grande, because sometimes Will gets a little confused. But yeah, you're right. Again, what does government do? Things that they shouldn't do, and they waste their time. As always, and they're doing it again. I get to that.
Well, what's interesting is, because tonight is a park board meeting, so please watch the park board meeting if you can, although it will take you away from our show.
Don't watch the park board meeting.
Well, I think that they broadcast it after the fact. But there's going to be a request tonight for a carnival in the city, made by CD Rec, with Mike Dion making the request to the park board. Now, I have a problem with that, because there's a regulation in place, and we know this, that there are no carnivals in the city, because they told Carlos he can't have any carnivals. And they told him that more than once. So
but that's a Carlos carnival. You can't have a Carlos carnival.
Yeah, you can't have a Carlos carnival. That's it. It's all because of Carlos. But if this passes, you know that this comes from the mayor.
Oh, of course.
You know this comes from the mayor.
And again, again, what does government do? They love to make rules and then disobey them. So now we say, you know, you're not supposed to have a carnival, but then it's for my friends only.
Right.
And, you know, that gets you to what they're doing on a federal level. I saw today they're going to court trying to, I mean, it's just, this country has become so bizarre. It's just incredible how much they can waste time and not do things to make our life better, not do things to reduce anything. What are they going to court? They're saying that they're using the facial recognition to unfairly target illegals.
Yep.
Really? What the hell do you have facial recognition for anyway? What's the next thing? Are we going to go to court and ban mugshots? Remember, you know, you watch every police drama. What do? Get the mugshots
right.
out. Look over the book. Well, you can't do that because you're illegally targeting, you're unfairly targeting criminals. Well, who the hell are you trying to get? What do you use facial recognition for? To find terrorists and illegals. That's what it's there for. But in this country now, because they pander so much to everybody, and it's so political, that law enforcement, they take away our tools. And this is why I keep saying they should throw them all in jail, because every time one of these illegals commits a crime and murders somebody, and he could have been caught on facial recognition, they should throw the people that are taking this to court in jail, because they don't care. I mean, that's an absolute contradiction. It is an oxymoron. It's like unfairly targeting somebody. If that is to find illegals and people who are violating the law and terrorists, that's its primary function. So what they're saying is, let them in, don't make it a crime, don't even look for them, and then when we have 600 million people in this country, 300 million of which are illegals, and they're overrunning the country, and crime is rampant, because they're not all going to get jobs, and they're not all upstanding citizens, because they came here illegally in the first place. Well, then everybody's going to say, what happened? The United States collapsed. Why? Because of idiocy like this. This is idiocy at its highest form.
Yeah, they're really upset because the FBI and other law enforcement agencies are also using the driver's license databases, which have photographs. And
well, heaven forbid they do their jobs.
Yeah,
they're trying to find people that don't belong here.
Or who have done something.
Yeah, well, heaven, like I said, let's get rid of mugshots, fingerprints, DNA. Let's just get rid of everything.
Might as well get rid of the jails, too.
Yeah, let's get rid of the police department. They can't do anything anyway.
Exactly.
Let's get rid of everybody. AOC wants to get rid of Homeland Security now. She's elevated her game. It's like, now we want to get rid of Homeland Security. So, I mean, I don't know why we'd need Homeland Security. We've got terrorism to deal with, a unprecedented influx of illegals. But what the hell do we need security for? I guess she figures they're all going to be customers at her bar or something in New York. So
I don't know.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, we have gone from the ridiculous to the sublime. But let's get back to Fall River. The mayor bumps potential billboard revenue to $300K. Isn't it nice when you can just play with figures any way you want? Overestimate, underestimate, and then you come back and still raise taxes and get more fees.
Figures don't lie, but liars can figure.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So now he anticipates figures will be closer to 300. Range, the end of the higher range. He later clarified the amount represented at the higher end of a revenue range. Well, I wish I had that kind of revenue range when I made my budget. I can't have that range. I can't anticipate money I don't have, and I can't really count on. But he can. And then, of course, there's the political. You see the next paragraph? Quote, that's for police officers. That's for firefighters. That's a few teachers. That's improvements in roads. So that's really exciting. Sounds like a campaign pitch to me, doesn't it?
Exactly. Well, he also spoke about doing away with the rainwater fee.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, you know, every time he runs, he's got to get rid of something.
I know.
The only thing he doesn't get rid of is tax increases, even though he said he'd try to do that at some point in time.
See, Tuesday's press conference comes as the city considers the possibility of ending its stormwater fee, which generates roughly $6 million annually for the city. Well, I guess $300,000 makes up for $6 million, right?
Absolutely. You know, in political math, well, we wonder why the city's in such a disaster.
Well, the mayor said in the coming weeks you'll hear another potential savings, I would say. I don't want to say revenue generator, but savings that the city will and has been working to achieve that will potentially affect the stormwater fee. Correa said, whether it's the entire stormwater fee, whether it's a portion, that's what we're working at. So it's really funny. And what's really interesting is they say very clearly that few advertisers have jumped on board to this process.
Yeah. Well, as you said, welcome to campaign season. Everything is going to be translated into, remember, these are all projections. So what happens if we don't get them? There's no 4 police officers, there's no 4 firefighters, there's no few teachers. These are all campaign crap. Because if you get those, it won't be from the billboards, it'll be from your increased property taxes, your increased fees, and that's where you'll get them. You will not get them because of these over projections, which politicians are great doing. You know?
Well, what's interesting is these billboards they're talking about, I don't know how many people have been in government center lately, but those are the TV monitors that are right in front of the elevator.
Well, I'll be seeing them. I'll be seeing them after the show. I'm going to go down to pay my water bill on the last day. They don't get my money normally until the last day. I keep it.
I don't blame you.
Because they waste enough of it. I'm not going to give it to them early to waste.
There you go.
So I will be conducting tours. I always do. Anybody that wants a tour of the beautiful floors and all the
that you paid for,
that we paid for with
That's
our
it.
tax dollars. You look at the difference. Just if you go to Government Center again, just notice the tile and then go to the 6th floor and notice the floor. It's different. You're up there in the penthouse suite.
That's
when
it.
you get to the 6th floor.
And I mean, look it over at the law office.
Yeah.
Nice, expensive glass doors.
Oh,
and
yeah, we
windows.
remember how they got there.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
We still remember the window gate
Yeah.
and law department glass gate.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, let's hope the voters remember this in November and we start draining this swamp. Let's see what Coogan leads campaign funding for Fall River. Mayoral race. I guess the mayor's not, his campaign funds depleted. I hope he wasn't using that at the $50 blackjack table up at the Encore. Maybe that's why it's depleted.
Well, according to the OCPF report,
Yeah.
Coogan reported raising $15,070 with $5,500 in campaign expenditures for the month. I wonder what he spent $5,500 on in a month. Coogan has a little more than $25,000 in his campaign account. A little more? That's somebody's annual income. The last 3 weeks of June, he received $4,000 from 5 donors associated with Primacare, who heavily donated to incumbent Mayor Jason Correa II in past elections. I guess the golden cow is going somewhere else.
Yeah, speaking of campaigns, I heard a rumor, and I've got to confirm it because I got it just before I left for the show. I heard that, I don't know, it was on some media that I missed because I've been watching the national news a lot, watching the circus that we got going on the federal level. And there's not a lot except campaign stuff, which is just the same old thing. But Primacare is now contributing to Paul Coogan.
Yep.
Not to Mayor Correa.
Correct.
The handwriting is on the wall because we know Primacare, even the janitors give big contributions.
That's right.
Payola, You know, Primacare
Well,
is...
when you consider the fact that Correa only reported $250 in donations and an ending balance of $3,984, his campaign's going to be hurting. His campaign's going to be hurting.
Well, you know, in all... He's raised money, a lot of money before, but, you know, the thing is, it would be hard, number one, for somebody to donate to a campaign when you're looking at someone who has been spotted at 3 different casinos in 3 different
Right.
geographical locations, you know, playing, and not that he doesn't have a right to do that, but it's kind of, it shows a kind of cavalier attitude toward money and toward the fact that you're looking at legal fees and that your grandmother mortgaged their house to help you pay. So I don't know. He's having some difficulty raising funds because the handwriting is on the wall. He did win re-election, but as it stipulated in this article that he was recalled by more than 60% of the voters.
Right.
And actually, I think he only got 34%, if I remember correctly. But when you broke it down, but the wording in the new city charter, I love every time I read those words. That city charter to be reelected by a plurality. Oh, God. So I guess a lot of people are looking at this election, and I'm not gonna. Elections are elections, and stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
If this happens for the 3rd time, then I think everybody should leave for Australia. Anybody that still
And remember, people
can still afford it should move to Australia. But it looks like the handwriting is on the wall. He's going to have an extremely difficult time winning this
believe
election.
it. Yeah. And remember, people, today is the last day to take up nomination papers for any office.
Yep.
You've got until 5 o'clock today. So if you want to run for mayor, go get down to City Hall today and take out your paperwork to run for office. And remember, your signature's got to be back by Friday for certification.
And I guess our 3rd mayoral candidate, looking to unseat career, Angel Pantoja,
Doesn't even have a committee.
doesn't have an OCPF committee, doesn't have a political committee according to the OCPF website. So I don't know how serious he is in his run.
Yeah. And
I mean,
Erica
if you're not-
Scapachico has $400 in her campaign account.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. It's unfortunately, it takes a lot of money to run for mayor. People think it's, just grassroots, but I remember a long time ago, a very long time ago, when someone ran against Eddie Lambert, our friend without the degree. And Eddie Lambert spent over $400,000 on that election for mayor.
For a job that pays $100,000.
Nearly $500,000
Yep.
he spent because he had him bust up to the Venus for a 7-course meal the night before the election, and he had like 1,200 people. Then he had another 1,200 or 1,000 people for breakfast the day of the election. He spent almost $500,000, and that's already been quite a while ago. So that was when $400,000 was a lot of money.
Right.
So it's even in perspective to today, $400,000 is a lot of money to spend on a mayoral election today in 2019. But in those days, that was a lot of money because George Jacome still came pretty close. I believe that. If he would have clarified that degree issue, and as I said, I think those meals, we always talk about chow mein sandwich. This was a full course, a buffet breakfast and a full course dinner the evening before. So, can you swine your way into an election by giving people a buffet? Unfortunately, yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Well, because again, our votes are for sale.
That's
our votes
it.
are for sale.
That's it.
So.
And what else? Algae in South Watuppa could be hazardous. The city officials are urging them not to swim.
Yeah, it's a blue-green algae bloom, and it's an irritant to your skin if you eat it or drink it. It can cause diarrhea. Hey, people, it happens. People are in the water, it goes in their mouth.
Well, you know, it's like you're not supposed to eat lead paint either.
Right, exactly.
But some people do.
Right.
Well, unfortunately, they're victims of their own.
Yeah.
But,
and they're recommending that you don't bring your pets to the water because they'll start licking their fur, and that will get your dog sick, in which case your dog's going to have to go to the vet, which is going to cost you a couple of $100. And the other thing is you can't inhale it, which they are not restricting boating. They're not restricting swimming, which makes no sense. But when you're boating and you've got those engines running, that aerosolizes that water. You see it behind you in the air. Of course you're going to inhale it.
Yeah.
But if you inhale it, it causes asthma-like symptoms.
Well, heaven forbid we allow our society today with the infestation of snowflakes that we have, that they actually allow nature to do what it does, which is create immunities and create antibodies to fight these things. This is why we alluded to on one of our previous shows about the people getting sick in these foreign countries. Well, Mexicans don't get sick in Mexico. They drink the water, they eat the salads that are washed in their water, because over the course of those years, their body has built up antibodies to it. And so they can actually consume this. When I'm looking at this algae, and I remember when I grew up, because I grew up near the South Watuppa pond.
Right.
We used to swim in the South Watuppa all the time. Sometimes it was so green and blue, it was disgusting, but we were kids. They didn't have public pools when I grew up, so that was our public pool. Even though we weren't supposed to go there, our parents didn't want us swimming in a place with no lifeguards and stuff, so we used to go out there and swim around in our underwear, and we had to squeeze the algae out when we were done.
Get out of the water with green underwear.
To my knowledge, nobody ever died of algae poisoning, and ultimately we must have built up an immunity because we swam at sandbars, as it was called, our entire, through our entire youth. The entire Flint was down at the South Watuppa pond down there, because there were no pools in those days.
Right, and I remember as a child, I went swimming and sliding in storm drains. And when I'd get out of there, I was brown from the storm drains. And I didn't get sick.
Yeah. We actually had some kids that ate dirt every once in a while, and they survived. Isn't it amazing when you look back at now and you look at our culture today and what we have today? They wrap them in bubble wrap, and they're like the boy in the bubble. I mean, you can't. And it's unhealthy. You know that as a nurse. Your body has it creates natural immunities.
That's right.
It's that's adaptation of a species. Why did giraffes get long necks? Because the ones with the short necks died because they couldn't reach the leaves on a tree, and it evolved. It's natural selection is part of evolution. Why do people have sickle cell anemia and thalassemia anemia and Tay-Sachs disease? In those areas where those diseases are prevalent, there's malaria.
Right.
And people don't realize that if you have sickle cell anemia, if you get one gene, you can't get malaria. If you get two genes, you die. But the thing is, you have a higher probability of surviving than someone with no sickle cell gene, because that person is going to probably die from malaria.
Right.
So that's the reason that these diseases have actually lasted through the ages, because they're actually, it is a partially beneficial. If you get one gene, if you get thalassemia, and I have thalassemia, Mediterranean, I have thalassemia minor, I'm immune to malaria.
Had you known that when you were in the military.
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken the malaria pills. Yeah, you're right. I didn't know that till after I got out. But the reality is that Tay-Sachs, sickle cell, those are all adaptations of species. And if we look at human adaptations, why do people who live in very sunny climates have more carotene protecting the mitochondria of their cells? But what we do is we've actually murdered ourselves. Why do we have superbacteria and superviruses? Overprescribing of antibiotics.
It's not only the overprescribing of antibiotics, it's the fact that we feed antibiotics to our animals that we end up eating.
True.
So I mean, you're getting so much antibiotic in your system that these diseases, these pathogens, are evolving, and they're becoming stronger.
Yeah, we're breeding
pathogens.
them. We're breeding them
Yeah.
because what happens is you get an antibiotic, and there's no antibiotic that can kill 100% of anything.
Right.
So who do you get? You get the 1% of the germs that are on steroids. You got the juices. So we get the, so what do? We're breeding supermen, super bacteria, super viruses. And then they come out with another one that will kill 99% of that super. So now we get the super duper. And what have we got now? We've got infections that are incurable. So what are you going to do?
Yep.
And-
Well, I think it's interesting that, now that we're changing topics here a little bit, we have a police officer, as you know, we spoke about
Under
this
indictment,
Under
yep.
indictment. And now the Florida Police Department is under review for accreditation. Will that indictment affect their accreditation? Probably not.
No, and it shouldn't.
No.
It shouldn't. The action of one individual, regardless of
But
what.
remember, this isn't the first time it happened. He's done it
No,
before.
no, I understand it.
And-
Maybe.
And what may affect the accreditation is the fact that the department did nothing to get it under control or to stop it.
Yeah, because look, and I will be perfectly truthful. I know absolutely nothing about their accreditation.
I don't either.
Because I don't know whether that takes into consideration the management of a department over the professional execution of their duties. I don't know if that accreditation is based on the kind of training they get as police officers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess if you said, well, if they're training, it's the follow-up, I don't know. But look,
And there's only like
I'm not sure. I hope, look, we got a lot of great police officers out there, and they're putting their lives on a line every day.
Yeah.
And the actions of one or two or three, regardless of what department it is, Fall River, any department, fire, police, any department, DPW, we got a lot of people that work hard for cities and towns throughout this nation. And it always disturbs me as someone who had to deal with this. As I said, you never see a headline, plumber indicted.
right.
For assault or something like that, or carpenter. But they hold them to a higher standard, and I'm not saying that isn't, you need to, because you are, in a position of authority. But the actions of one individual, you can't, I don't believe in that. A bad apple does not spoil this barrel, because we got a lot of good police officers out there every day putting their life on a line
And
for
when
us.
you think about it, there's only three, 4, or 5 police departments in Massachusetts that are accredited.
Yeah.
So obviously, somebody's doing something right somewhere.
Yeah, and obviously which I think is good. Their accreditation process obviously is difficult, and it should be, because it shouldn't just be a rubber stamp. There should be a really difficult criteria, and I hope they do well in the accreditation. But I'm sure even if they don't, they will ultimately get there, because, as I said, the actions of one or two individuals does not condemn an entire occupation, and we see that all too often.
Yes, we do.
You throw out the baby with the bath water. And speaking about babies and bath water, we're just about done with all our stuff. Wasn't it a tragedy that 18-month-old child that was
On the
cruise ship? That was
what was that, Voyage of the Sea or something?
I think, I think it was Voyage. I think it was Norwegian Cruise Lines.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it was, regardless of what cruise line, it is just, it's just inconceivable.
Well, I know that the family is still in Puerto Rico, so
Well, I don't.
it's
a terrible thing.
They had to stay there because they're gonna oversee the autopsy and see if they're gonna charge the grandfather with anything. I mean, that was sad. And a lot of cruises are having these type of problems with disease, norovirus, and people. And they say people fall off overboard regularly, so that
Yeah.
kind of scares me too.
Well, most of them are 18 months old and should have
Exactly.
been supervised. Most of those, I've been on a few cruises. A couple of them they're not 3 sheets to the wind. They're about 17 sheets to the wind.
Exactly,
It's a miracle they don't lose a lot more with adults. But that was a terrible, terrible thing. Well,
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Stay angry. We'll see you on Friday.